everybody, it's Aubrey, and I am creating a few units to walk you through 5 weeks of grounding your authentic archetypes. And this is about really owning your authentic self so you can shift into new patterns that really serve who you truly are. Now, the first unit is going to be about creating change with the moon, with the new moon. So this is about getting clear and setting your intention using the cosmic energy that's available and around for us. So my online business is called the Empath Alchemy Toolkit. The tools that I want to give you are these. Understanding archetypal patterns, being able to read them inside yourself and recognize them in other people and in certain situations. And this is going to give you deep, insightful wisdom. This is going to help your intuition. It anchors your intuition into a really practical, tangible skill. And then I want to help you understand the cosmic energy that's around you, with the moon phases and astrologically. So then, finally, but not leastly, to really understand how this is impacting your body. Like, use your body as an anchor to understand the elements of your energy system and how that feels physically in your body, in your system, in your physical system. So I talk a lot about empaths. You don't have to be born as an empath to use these things. You can definitely learn how to be empathic. It's a skill, but it is a skill that a lot of people are born with and have historically like stories that are going to be very similar for other empaths. So most empaths are born feeling very sensitive. They don't really realize that they're different at first, but as they grow, they have to negotiate their energy in ways, like coping ways that aren't necessarily healthy for them. So they are going to have a lot of unhealthy coping practices, or just coping practices that aren't going to support them into growing into their most authentic self. So empathic people generally struggle with feeling sensitive, feeling depleted and disoriented. So this is something like depletion. It could show up as adrenal fatigue. They feel exhausted a lot of times. They go into crowds, they come home from work, and they're just exhausted. They don't have anything to give. They're just like, and this can be really disorienting too, because sometimes even in personal relationships where they're actually being manipulated because they're very kind and open people, they might not recognize certain red flags, and they can kind of feel like something's off, but they don't know how to articulate it. They can, like, mentally, that doesn't really make sense, and it's just kind of disorienting. So this is what I'd like to help you with. So empaths, I believe that when an empath knows themselves, they can create massive influence in this world. Because they are so energetically sensitive, when they stand in their power, they can really, they get where other people are coming from. And they have this ability to be sensitive, to hold space for them, and to articulate, to support people in change, into opening their minds and seeing a bigger picture. So when an empath stands in their power, they can create healing and influence in their family, in their community, which ripples out to the world. When an empath understands these practical, energetic tools and they can stand in their power, they they have so much available to them. This is something this is medicine for the world. So I'm going to continue. So something about me. So I'm an energy alchemy mentor. My name is Aubrey. I teach empaths energetic tools to ground in their strength and own their leadership skills. Like, empaths are leaders, and sometimes they have a hard time with that. So I believe that empaths can create a massive impact in this world, and that's what I want to help you with. I have 15 years of energetic bodywork experience as a polarity therapist. I have almost 10 years as a birth professional. So this for me is what I know, especially from being a doula and witnessing women give birth, is that when you own your vulnerability and you can stand, you can be so open. You are also so powerful. The most powerful moments coincide with vulnerability. And this is something that understanding who you are energetically, archetypally, really and engaging and knowing the influences around you are going to support this. So my biggest passion is to help people connect with their mental, emotional, and physical connection so they can take this holistic approach into their personal empowerment. A couple personal things about me is that I did struggle with being empathic as a child. As a teenager, I got into substance abuse. I self-medicated with a lot of addictions, and the alcohol addiction really carried into my adult life. It tapered off as I got more professional and became a mother. But I've been alcohol free for several years, and I've done very intense shadow work. I really understand the value of radical self-acceptance and even accepting and like loving my shadow. These are things that I own and that I can identify with, that I can relate with people. And so when we're going to get into shadow work in a few, like 2 units away, unit 3, but I want you to know this about me, is that there is so much value in owning your personal shadow and really loving that about yourself, because it really gives you roots to stand on, and it points you in the direction of your potential. When you understand shadow aspects of yourself, you can understand that polar opposite energy of your power. I also have a deep understanding of narcissistic relationships. This is something that I have patterned in lots of, I see this in family, friends, work, and personally. This is something that I know that, especially when I was self-medicating with substance abuse issues, I had a lot of narcissistic tendencies as a way of coping with being so sensitive and empathic. So narcissism is something that I talk a lot about. And this is also something I just want you to know, because when we start to explore our shadow, we can kind of see how we might have some narcissistic tendencies, and that it's very much okay. When we do shadow work, shame naturally comes up, but this is something I want to support. I want to move away from shame. Shame is not helpful. No one is inherently bad, and these our shadow aspects are our biggest teachers. So this is something I really want to support you with in this process. I just want you to know this about me. We're going to get into that in unit 3, but that's something I want you to know. So new moon energy. So this recording is going to be something that I want to keep very generic. But each new moon that comes around is a time to really get clear with what seeds are you planting, what metaphorical seeds are you planting in your life. And we can understand each new moon is going to be, the sun and the moon are both in the same sign, the same astrology sign. So when we can really hone in on that archetype, what is the archetype? What archetypal energy is available for us right now in this new moon coming up? When I know that there's a new moon coming up, I like to prepare. I like to kind of think about it about a week ahead as well. And I like to make sure that I schedule time so I can do intentional work, either with just simply journaling, with ceremony, or with ritual with other women or other people. Usually it's with women, but I just began doing this work with men and women together. So, and I like to prepare. So right now, as I'm recording this video, the sun is in Gemini, but the new moon coming up in a few days is going to be the sun and moon in Cancer. So we are going to get this download of Cancerian energy, which is all about the home, the heart, nurturing the self and nurturing the inner circle. So each new moon that comes up, we can really look at that archetype and kind of prepare. What kind of things do I want in my home, in my heart, in my personal relationships? And then we can also look at those shadow aspects of Cancer and what kind of work can I do to support emotional balancing? What kind of work can I do to support Cancer is a really good example of the two polar opposites, the empath and the narcissist. And so Cancer Cancer is a sign of being so sensitive, and also being, when a Cancer has a lot of emotional baggage, it is known astrologically that they have this thick shell and that you can't penetrate it. There's this hard exterior, and they can come across as being very crass or very blunt, very rude. So this is the energy that's coming up. And it's a really good example of what we're doing with this work as empaths, of how can we be open and strong? So how can we dissolve the wall around us so we can let the energy flow in and out and around us? How can we pinpoint those red flags and create boundaries so they're not just penetrating us and hurting us? So every new moon is a really good time to just get clear with your intentions, to get clear with what kind of things need to dissolve so the new things can come in. And that's what I want to work with you. So I'm going to keep this really generic, but the fact that we are using Cancer as a metaphor for empath narcissist is perfect. So we're always, as empaths, as energy workers, we're always going to be in this kind of polarity with that. Okay, so intention setting. It's really important to get clear with what you want and use positive words. I always recommend journaling with a pen and paper, pencil, paper, just physically journaling rather than typing. Because sometimes what happens is, as you journal information, you can use that as a channel. So information starts coming in, and you might need to start to articulate or write out things that you've never really thought about. Things can become clear for you. Sometimes people don't know what they want. They just are so overwhelmed with the situation that they don't want. So they say, I am working at this in a toxic environment and I don't want this job anymore. I don't know what that looks like to get out of it. I just know that I don't want this. So if that's your case, it's important to get really clear with what is it that you don't want? If you don't want drama, if you don't want to work for a lot of hours for little pay, go to that opposite. So I want easy relationships. I want clear communication. So if it's like mind game, like I don't, not, rather than saying I don't want mind games, it's like I want very clear, open communication with people that I'm around. If it's, I want to be paid what I'm worth. I don't want to feel bad. If it's, I don't want to feel bad about asking for money. I want to feel valued. I want to be able to ask and receive the money that I deserve for my work. Okay, so what archetypes are involved? In next unit, we're going to talk more about archetypes specifically. So if you're not really sure, you can kind of look at like the patterns though, or characters. So if you know that you want to be valued, you can maybe even just put that with like a queen archetype, a goddess archetype, a warrior archetype. Like, I want to be appreciated. I want to be seen. I want people to look up to me and respect me. And we'll talk more about how to understand archetypes in the next unit, but just to start getting curious and see if that's something that is available for you in your journaling right now. So how does this physically feel energetically? Like when you are being treated, when you are being given money and energy and love and conversation around your worth, when you feel valued, how does that feel in your body? You can go physically, like, and energetically. Like, I feel strong in my abdomen. I feel open in my heart chakra. So you could go both ways, and I recommend kind of anchoring it in both in your physical body and also in your energy field, understanding that. We can talk more about that. If you have any questions, just ask below in a comment below, and I'm happy to answer. What grounding practices support this to be anchored in? So if you know you want to feel strong in your abdomen, what kind of grounding practices can you do to anchor that in? Maybe it's taking a walk in the morning. Maybe it is just simply having a quiet moment with a cup of tea or coffee in the morning and really just feeling your energy body and focusing on feeling strong in your abdomen, focusing on feeling open in your heart. It could be that simple, but bringing in some kind of grounding practice is how these changes are made for you. So what kind of action steps can you commit to bring these intentions into real life? So if it is about a job, what kind of job do you want? Maybe you can, like, the action steps could be refreshing your resume, looking at other jobs, talking to other people, taking a new course to get a new skill, something like that. So these are more practical action steps to support the things that you want and work with it for this moon phase. So you can journal this. I recommend journaling anyway and not doing it in lieu of creating art. But if you want to create art, make a picture, that's also lovely. And it can be very abstract. So you could use paints, you can use, I love chalk pastels, but that's like a very nice anchoring thing to do, especially on the new moon. To sit with yourself or with friends and to create art together to really anchor that in. And that also brings in that visceral felt sense. Anything you can do to create that visceral felt sense of the emotions involved, of that thing that you want, to this vision that you have, when you see this vision of what you want your life to be, how does that feel? And the more you bring in that felt sense into your daily life, your body becomes a magnet to create that, to bring that to you, to draw that into your life. So if we're obsessing about the drama, if we're replaying the dramatic scenes that happened in the past, or we're anticipating dramatic scenes in the future, we're actually creating more drama because we are a magnet for drama. So it's really important to catch ourselves in these moments when we are kind of in that mental cycle of the things that we don't want to happen, or the stories of like, oh, I can't believe they said that to me, and I wish I would have responded this way. If we're thinking that, we're actually holding that magnet of creating more of it in the future. I will move on. So now getting clear with your limiting beliefs, because it's really important to understand, like, when you know that you want something in your life, other things are going to have to clear out of the way for them. So what do you need to give up in order for these new moon intentions to really manifest in your life? And when you think about these changes that you want and the action steps involved and the sacrifices that you need to make, what really comes up for you? So it's natural, like there's fears and there's like anxiety, or there's going to be some uneasy feelings. So getting clear with where you're resistant, where you might be feeling scared, or any other emotion involved, like really getting clear with what you're working with here is going to support that process. So because all of these things have positive attributes. So if you know that it's going to be hard to find a new job, it's going to be hard to leave this place that you've been at for so many years. You might have a few friends there, you know, or whatever it is, but it's to get clear with the grief involved in letting go of the current situation so you can bring this new thing in. And what the positive attributes, like I use like if you know that you want to be like have a more healthy lifestyle, but you have this habit of like sitting on your couch and watching Netflix at night, and you like get a bowl of ice cream, like it's like a habit that somehow happened. You know, getting clear with what does that bowl of ice cream give you? It gives you comfort. It's like a treat at the end of a long day. So really getting clear with, okay, so I want comfort and I want a treat at the end of a long day. This was something of mine. So I know like I had to replace that with a cup of tea, and I had to make the tea really exciting. I have a special cup. I use loose leaf herbs. I have a whole ritual around it, and I sit on my couch and I drink it with that same intention of like, oh, my tea. And it definitely took some getting used to when I had to give up that ice cream. But now when I'm coming home at the end of a long day, I'm like, oh, I'm going to sit on the couch and have my tea. So that's just like an easy example, but really understanding those emotions that are involved with why you love the things that you're wanting to give up, so you can create something new for that same positive intention. Like, I want comfort, I want sweetness, I want enjoyment, and that's what I want. Or a job would be like, I want security, I want a regular paycheck, I want, you know, that stable thing in my life. So how can you focus on those good intentions so you can really bring in something stable, something that gives you a sense of security in your life. Okay, so the next unit is your authentic archetypes, and we'll talk more about that. These are kind of meant to go week by week, but you definitely can go through them faster. Ask any questions, I'm happy to answer them. And also every new moon, I have new offers, which I'll just keep this really generic, but every new moon, I'm happy to work with you one-on-one to support you in this process as we work with the moon, as we work with astrology, understanding your archetypes and understanding the archetypal situations around you, and knowing and then bringing in your physical body and energy system in this. That's what I'm going to say. As I end this video, thank you, and I'm happy to continue talking about anything that you might have questions about.